Welcome, everyone, to the Nightly News Podcast. We are back here for our first episode of the fall term, and of course, we are always joined on a first episode of each new term from the Dean of Student Engagement, Adrienne Thoman. Adrienne, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be able to kick off our fall term, and I love that I get to help to kick off the podcast for the fall term, too.
Well, we are always looking forward to it, and any big fans of Adrienne and the fine work that she does here, at least on our podcast, will be happy to know that we're going to be having Adrienne in twice this term. So she'll be coming in right now. We're going to be talking about some October events, and then when she comes back, we'll be talking about some November and December events in just a couple of weeks. So that's a big step in the right direction. We're now getting back to some sense of normalcy, at least with the podcast. I've kind of changed the schedule a little bit. I used to do weeks 1 through 8. Now we're just doing every other week starting week 1. So we now have 6 episodes per term, a little bit more manageable, and I think a little bit better for the show in general. Of course, we don't really know what's going to happen with the pandemic, so I'm trying to kind of fall somewhere in the middle of where we once were and where when we started coming back when we only had 4 episodes a term. So trying to get all of the wonderful people here on this campus here on the podcast to talk about the amazing things that we have going on. Of course, soon at the end of this segment, we will do Adrienne's featured 3 events in which Adrienne selects 3 events that she wants you all to watch out for. But in the meantime, there's a lot of stuff going on, not only with our annual homecoming event that we have coming up, but some other really cool things that are coming up as well. Adrienne, I'd like to kick it off today by talking about something that I think is really, really cool that we're doing, celebration that the campus is going to engage in for Hispanic Heritage Week. So tell me a little bit about where this came from. I'm not necessarily, obviously Hispanic Heritage Week has been around, but this is really the first time that I recall there being a lot of different types of programming around it. So where did these conversations come from? And then tell us a little bit about what some of the events are.
You know, I have to say our students are always the best source of ideas, and this is something that we have kind of been overdue at planning here at the college, and we had an amazing group of students that volunteered to be able to help to organize this, and they are working hard to put together a whole lineup of programming. So Gabby and Jade, who are going to plan, along with Megan Kaiser from our Learning Center, are going to plan a Spanish lesson, and we're going to have some food tasting in our theater, so that's going to be super fun on Tuesday, October 5th from 6 to 8. On Wednesday, we're going to watch McFarland USA, which I haven't gotten to see yet, so I'm super excited about that. That was a movie that Gabby had suggested, and we're going to be watching that in our theater at 9 p.m., a late night movie with some popcorn. On Thursday, during our Back to Class Blast, we actually have a bachata band, Los Monstros, that's going to come and perform.
Now, what is a bachata band?
It's a style of music, and I feel like I want to do the little hip bump to, like, you can't see it because it's a podcast, but it's beautiful.
Well, you do teach dance. I mean, you have to know something about it, right?
I know a little bit about it, but these guys are great, and I feel like we're going to see a little dancing on the quad. At least I'm hoping on Thursday. On Friday, we are working on a panel discussion to highlight some of our Hispanic and Latina students and give them a chance to share their experiences.
Awesome. And this is one of the really cool things, Adrienne, that I noticed that you've been doing really forever since you've been here, but definitely over the past couple of years, is that you've really been trying to highlight some of the diverse perspectives that we have on our campus. I mean, we here at Central Penn are an extremely diverse campus, and it's wonderful that you allow the students the opportunity to lead some of these events. What's your thought process when you go to a student and maybe ask them to do something like this? I know personally from teaching a lot of, Com 101 classes, speaking in front of audiences doesn't necessarily rank high on people's to-do lists. So how do you get them to want to speak in front of an audience, especially an audience of not only just their peers, but also maybe their professors and college administrators? I mean, that can be intimidating.
It can be. I think it's a matter of finding a place that everybody feels comfortable. So maybe that student doesn't feel comfortable speaking or giving the speech in front of the room, but maybe they're amazing at doing the planning or creating one epic PowerPoint presentation. So really playing to their strengths and letting them do what they are good at, feel comfortable with, but then maybe push them a little bit to be like, hey, do you want to intro the band, or give them an opportunity to take a step in that direction without making them give a full-fledged speech at the front.
And and that's something too that as individuals who work in higher education, we need to do, and we have to try to find the strengths of our students because, listen, not everyone's good at everything. I mean, I will certainly attest to that. So finding the strengths of our students and then putting them in positions where they can be successful, I think is really important. But this is really cool, and I'm really looking forward to that this week to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Week here at Central Penn. Another thing that we wanted to mention sort of along the same lines is something that's coming up next week, National Coming Out Day. Tell us a little bit more about how we're going to recognize that here at the college.
So we are going to have a really fun and informative station set up in our ATEC lobby on Monday. Again, we have a great group collaborating on creating something for the day, really wanting it to be not only something that brings awareness, but also to show support for students. I mean, that's a big day, and there might be students in our community that are choosing that day to come out for the first time and wanting to be supportive of them and help to celebrate along with them for doing that.
So that'll be on October 11th. Keep your eye out for Student Central for more information. Another thing that we are wanting to take a look at here is the Adulting Fair that's going to come up on October 13th from 2 to 4. This is obviously an event that was scheduled for summer term. I don't remember if we had like a really bad thunderstorm or something that day, but I do remember the day, and it was weather was awful.
Bad weather.
So instead of trying to move it, still wanting to do it outside, we're looking at October 13th. So tell us a little bit about what this is and where this idea came from, because this is our second annual Adulting Fair.
So this is a brainchild of our Student Success and Advising Office, and they have done an incredible job of building out this event. And, we have an amazing opportunity here at Central Penn College. We are kind of students are in transition, they're so many of them, not all of them, we have a lot of adult students already, but some students are coming from their homes and living on their own for the very first time, having to figure out things like, all the things that we joke about being an adult, doing your laundry and not having it turn pink when you're done, and figuring out how to balance your checkbook and buy groceries and all of those things. A lot of our students are learning and experiencing those things for the very first time, and they have a really fun event to help to simulate some of those things and have fun with it, and hopefully give them some tips and tricks too.
And let's hope we have some nice weather.
We're going to have nice weather. I'm putting it out there to the universe. Nice weather.
You are always the most positive person. I absolutely love it. You kind of balance me out a little bit, and I appreciate that. Before we get to Adrienne's Featured 3, something that I've been doing the last few times that you've been on the show is I want you to, let's talk a little bit more about the Pirate Life podcast, your podcast. I just come in and push buttons for.
Producer Paul, you have an epic role.
Well, I'm actually super excited that I now get to do the pirate joke, which has gone over quite well, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that.
I'm super excited too, because my jokes were not well received, so I'm very happy that you have that responsibility now.
And I'm happy to do it. I mean, it's the least I can do. But tell us a little bit more, especially for those maybe who are new listeners to the show. Tell us a little bit more about what the Pirate Life is and, where they can find the podcast to check it out.
Oh, thank you. So the Pirate Life podcast, it's put together by myself and two of my very close friends, Shauna and Denise. And back in the day, we ran a themed half marathon where we dressed up like pirates. And ever since then, we've kind of joked around that, we're the pirates. And since then, we have really developed this philosophy around just living life to the fullest and looking for adventure and not being afraid to step out there, put yourself out there and achieve your goals.
What's interesting to me about the opportunity that I get, obviously I didn't produce the shows during COVID, but being that you're now on episode 57,
yes.
We're recording 58 and 59 tomorrow. I've been there for most of them. And the thing that's so fascinating to me is that in a way, and I mean, I don't even know if this is what you're going for, but it seems to me that it's a really motivational show. Quick half-hour episodes, but what you do as part of the show is so influential. Even just, not only is it fun and it's enjoyable, I mean, even if you're not looking for that type of vibe, it's still a fun show to listen to. But some of the things that you've talked about have really, even just me sitting here in the studio, have changed my perspective toward a lot of things. And I got to tell you that every time that we leave, I have just the biggest smile on my face. I could be having a bad day, but getting to see you and getting to listen to all of you and talk about some of your hardships that you've gone through, but also ways that you've tried to overcome those hardships, I got to be honest, is really special and I think important to your listeners. And I don't know if that's necessarily what you were going for, but that's what I kind of take away from many of your episodes. Very, very motivational and help dealing with a lot of the stress and anxiety that we have in the 2021 lifestyle that we live. So I give you so much credit. You have done what a lot of people can't do, and that's stay on a regular rotation, a regular release schedule, and just getting to celebrate your 50th recently. It's such a big milestone, and I hope that I can continue to be part of the Pirate Life podcast moving forward. But I give you so much credit. It's such a great show.
We really appreciate that so much. Our hope is that we have a blast doing it, and certainly we hope that we might inspire others to live their best lives.
We
as well.
do need to tell Shauna and Denise to stop cracking jokes on your at your behalf.
I know, they're mean to me.
The last couple of shows have been a little rough on you,
brutal.
Adrienne. So we'll have to make sure we share that with them tomorrow. All right. So just a quick recap, and we can recap this all at the end. This week, Hispanic Heritage Week, and keep an eye out for Central Station, Student Central, for all of the different list of events that are going to be a part of Hispanic Heritage Week. Adrienne also discussed National Coming Out Day. That's going to be October 11th. Again, keep an eye out for Student Central and Central Station for more information on that. And then the Adulting Fair will be October 13th from 2 to 4. So make sure you come out and check out these events. But we've saved the best for last. And that has to do with Adrienne's Featured 3. This is everyone's favorite segment on the Nightly News podcast, Adrienne's Featured 3 events for October. Let's talk about number 1.
All right, I'm cheating again for number 1 because I'm including just all of week 1 as number 1.
It's Welcome Week.
It is at Welcome Week.
So because you already have sort of an umbrella, it's really all just one event, but it's a series of things.
Yes. And there are some really key things that I definitely want to point out. So we have, first of all, on Wednesday, Pancakes with the President. So how cool is it that our college president comes to the ATEC lobby, literally like there with her griddle and spatula, making pancakes for our students, getting to know them, welcoming some of them for the first time and welcoming some of them back. So she's going to be doing that again this Wednesday morning, October the 6th from 9 to 11. Later that day, we have a new event. It's called Meet and Greet with Eats, which is for our new students. And that's going to be a really special event where they're going to get to meet some of their faculty. They're going to get to interact with different student services and get some tips and tricks from some of our current students. And I believe even an alum might pop in, who you probably know, Parker Rose.
Oh, that's wonderful. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be here for that, so I'll have to make sure. I keep in touch with Parker, though. I took him out to lunch over the summer.
Nice.
After he graduated. And he's this guy. I could go on for days about how wonderful he is.
He kind of is a superstar, isn't he?
Absolutely, 100%. And he's being very successful right now with his career position. So he's just another wonderful example of, if you really engage in the college experience, what and how the college can afford you getting to that next step, which is really what all of our students are here for. They want to get that education that they need to get and achieve their goals and get that career position. Parker just was able to knock it out of the park. Sometimes I felt bad for him because he was so overwhelmed. And, I actually had a conversation with him a few times about, it's okay if you don't do everything,
right,
Parker.
Right. That's hard. It's hard, though, because he's so committed to everything he does. So,
well, you'll have to make sure you say hello to him for me.
I will.
At the Meet and Greet with Eats.
Meet and Greet with Eats.
All right, what do you have up next for Welcome Week?
Thursday, the Back to Class Blast. That's 11 to 1. We're going to have live music from Los Monstros, which we talked about. We're going to have free food. The Armed Forces Association is going to be at the grill again, making up deliciousness for us. And all of our student clubs are going to be there. A bunch of our student service offices are going to be represented. Really fun opportunity for students just to walk around and connect with each other and other people on campus.
Awesome. Is that it for week 1?
That's all I'm going to sneak in this time.
Okay. All right, Adrienne, what is event number 2 on Adrienne's featured 3 for October?
We have our favorite hypnotist coming back to campus. Sailesh is coming on October the 21st, which is a Thursday night. The show's going to be at 6 o'clock. We had so much fun. Our activities advisory board is going to bring him. They were the group that brought him in last time he was here. We had so much fun last time. Really looking forward to having him back again.
Now that you have seen him, what is your opinion on hypnosis?
It's so real.
Yeah?
Like those students, there's no way that it's not real.
Oh, I mean, I honestly don't know. And I remember we had a hypnotist like when I was in high school. So that was that long ago. But, there's definitely 2 schools of thought on the hypnosis aspect of, let's just put it this way. There's 2 schools of thought on hypnosis in general. And I think it's really interesting. And I think that that's unique that since you've actually seen it and been through it, that you kind of have an interesting opinion. Are you going to be hypnotized?
No.
Why?
Because I feel like I need to be fully alert if there were safety concerns or anything like that.
You're not going to be the only one there.
As the dean in charge, I feel like I need to make sure I'm fully lucid.
Are you just saying that because you are afraid of what might happen if you are hypnotized?
No comment.
Okay, fair enough. So, Sailesh the Hypnotist, October 21st. What is the final event in Adrienne's featured 3 for the month of October?
Oh, 'tis the season. My scariest day of the year.
I forgot how worked up you get about this and how it surprises me because I know you really well. And I've been going to Field of Screams for 20 years. It's more of surprising than scary.
No.
So I really want to hear why you are so anxious about this experience.
I am every time. I think I'm going to go in and be like, yeah, I'm going to tell myself it's fake and I'm not going to be scared. But then I get in there and then, the chainsaw guy, he gets me every time. And it's terrifying. And I think the students are going to take it easy on me. They're going to be like, yeah, you can stay in the van. That's fine. No, it has not happened yet. I fully expect I'm going to go through all 4 things. It's scary.
You're lucky that I'm not going because anytime something like this happens, I go with somebody who's really scared. I make it a point to go up to the different places and point people out that get really scared so they pay extra attention to you once you get inside.
Oh, I will never go to Field of Screams with you then.
It's been a couple years since I've been there. I really should go this year. I really love it. So, but that's a cool opportunity because students, if they go, don't have to pay the full price.
Yeah, we'll sponsor part of the ticket price out of the student engagement budget, and then we'll have limited transportation. We'll take a shuttle van that can get most of the students to ride with us if they don't want to drive.
So a ride and partially sponsored tickets. I mean, you literally cannot beat that. And the day you're looking at is going to be probably a really busy night, October the 29th.
That weekend was the less traffic than the weekend before.
Wow. Maybe it's because in October people are looking to do stuff like that, and then by the time it rolls around, people have already gone.
Or maybe the Halloween parties are the weekend of Halloween, and then everybody does Field of Screams before. I don't know. Either way, we're hoping to luck out, have short lines.
That's awesome. Okay, so Adrienne's featured 3 comes with Welcome Week during week 1. Between Pancakes with the President, Back to Class Blast, all kinds of fun events that are going to be happening as part of week 1. Event number 2 is Sailesh the Hypnotist on October 21st from 6 to 7. That'll be in the theater. And then October the 29th, Field of Screams. Make sure you get in touch with Adrienne to connect with her if you would like to go along to Field of Screams. Adrienne, before we get out of here, there is one more very, very important thing that I want to talk about, and that's homecoming. This is going to be a homecoming like no other. And of course, this is going to be open for all Central Penn, anyone who's related to Central Penn, faculty, staff, students, alumni, community members, all can participate in homecoming. So do you mind just going over, what people who might be interested or students or people who are maybe coming in from out of town, what have you, what we can expect for homecoming?
So there is so much happening. I'll just start with Friday night, October the 15th, we have a band. So any Dave Matthews Band fans?
Oh, and I'm a huge, huge fan. So much so that I have class that weekend, and I'm going to come to the concert, and I'm going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
You are not, really?
To go to class because I want to see the concert so bad.
So Proud Monkey is the name of the band. They're a Dave Matthews tribute band, and they are going to be Friday night from 6 to 9. There are discounted tickets for students. So if you are an active student, please make sure that you reach out to me, or I will have a link for you to get a discounted ticket. There is a small fee, but you'll get a discount from the public, so make sure you get that. Saturday morning, it starts with an open house. So if you know anybody interested in starting classes here, they're going to be able to come to that, followed by the Fall Harvest Festival, which is such a tradition here at Central Penn College. That's from 10 to 2. There's going to be inflatables and pumpkin carving and bounce houses and a dunk tank and just a million things to do.
Are you going to bring your dog?
I'll be here early, so it makes it hard to bring the baby. I would
Understandable.
love to, though. Yeah.
Understandable.
There's going to be, after that, an alumni versus student soccer game.
This sounds really interesting.
It's going to be great.
I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to come back.
And Casey's done a great job getting everybody lined up. She says she almost has a full roster of alumni already.
Wow.
But if you are interested in playing, please reach out to Casey Hicks, our athletic director, now to get on the roster to make sure you can play. After that, I know there's like a ton. I keep going. There's going to be a movie, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. That's going to be down at the fire pit. There is, if you go to the ticketed link, there is a $5 fee for the community. However, students, again, you guys get a discount. It's going to be free for you guys. So make sure you see me to get the link or the discount code, okay? Don't pay your $5. Save that $5. And then that night, we're going to do a homecoming dance. And then Sunday, I'm going to be in the underground. We're going to do kegs and eggs, but we're doing it with like a root beer keg. And I'll be in the griddle making my eggs and pancakes. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So much going on here in October, Adrienne. And we have recapped all of these, but certainly the article that will come along with this will make sure to have further information and dates for all these events. Well, Adrienne, I'm so excited that we're going to have you back again this term. So it's not only just once a term that we get to have you on. So I'm looking forward to having you back here for November events.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me today.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of the Nightly News Podcast for the Dean of Student Engagement, Adrienne Thoman. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I'll see you next time on the Nightly News Podcast.
This is Megan Ream, Director of the Learning Center at Central Penn College, and you're listening to the Nightly News Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and we are back here for the fall term with our first episode. And we are so happy to be joined by the Internship Coordinator here at Central Penn College, Kristin Fike. Kristin, you just told me before you came in that you haven't even seen the new podcast studio.
No, it feels like I haven't been here in forever, but I'm so happy to be back.
Gosh, I mean, if it had been CPEC before the pandemic, we're talking about, more than a year and a half. Mm-hmm. We're talking February, and now we're almost into October here, a year later. So, and I'd mentioned to you, we took 2 terms off totally of doing the podcast, and then even fall and into winter, you certainly can do podcasts remotely, but there's a lot of growing pains that go along with that. So I promise you it will not be another year and a half till we have you back. So today we're going to be talking about the upcoming Internship Fair on October the 21st. We're also going to talk a little bit about Kristin's club that she is the advisor for, the Colleges Against Cancer. They've got a lot of great things coming up here in October to support Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we're very happy to have you, Kristin.
Thank you.
We're also being joined here today by the newly minted Nightly News Vice President, Jamie Harmon. Jamie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
And Jamie is also our news correspondent. You've done 3 nightly news briefs to this point, and you've done a wonderful job, and you continue to show improvement. Jamie, one of the things that I said to you when I first had you in, everyone thinks reading aloud off a piece of paper is so easy.
That is the biggest misconception as I go through this process, because it definitely does take skill and to actually be able to do it effectively.
It's funny because, it's not only just reading for news audio-wise, but like if you're reading off a prompter or something like that, to be able to read, digest, and then spit it out and spit it out in a way that's, eloquent and has positive inflection in your voice, it's very tough. It's a challenge. And I think a lot of people, I can sit down and read off of a sheet of paper. It's so much harder than it looks. And it is definitely a skill, but you've really done a wonderful job. So when you've listened back, what have your impressions been like of your efforts?
I think it's good to listen back because I'm able to see things that I can improve. Inflection is definitely one thing that I think, emphasis on certain words and slowing down my rate or my tempo speed lead. I don't think people realize that in a normal conversation. But like you said, when you're actually speaking, you actually have to listen back and hear, oh my gosh, I'm rushing through this process. And it's a lot easier to digest when you take your time as a consumer.
The good thing about a podcast, Jamie, is we have unlimited time. So you can take your time
True.
as slowly as you like. But no, you've been doing a wonderful job, and so glad that you're stepping up. And Leslie Heimbaugh is still here. She's done with her coursework, still working on her internship, and she's going to be hanging around helping us out this term. But you're going to have to fill some pretty big shoes there, Jamie. So I'm sure you're up for the challenge.
Yeah, she's awesome. I'm sad to see her go though.
Well, we still have her she's still going to be involved with the club here until at least Thanksgiving. So we're going to take advantage of her in any possible way we can for her knowledge and wisdom and enthusiasm. So. Well, let's switch over to the topic of focus today here, Kristin. Coming up, the October 21st Internship Fair. Now, that's going to be taking place in the Conference Center from 10 to noon. You are asking that students register. And there are going to be 24 companies that are going to be there.
Yes.
So we're going to have that opportunity to talk about some of those companies, some best practices for students, maybe that are coming to their first internship fair, and maybe some research that the students can do ahead of time. So let's start off at the beginning. In terms of the in-person, because I know last year you did a virtual internship fair. Now, we have had Steve on, and we have gotten his insight. Kristin, tell me a little bit more about what your impressions were of that initial virtual job fair.
That was the first one we've ever done. We really, pulled that together in a quick amount of time when we knew that we couldn't be in person. But it ran awesome. I mean, we did it in Zoom. We had several employers. We were able to put them into their own separate rooms, and students could move in and out of those rooms. So really, we just made it the best that we could. And we did get a lot of feedback from the students that they still had a great experience, even though it was virtual. And we had several employers that were really appreciative. And honestly, they said, we hope that these virtual fairs continue at least part of the time, because honestly, they save a lot of time. They can be a lot more productive versus traveling from school to school. So we had a lot of great feedback.
And that's totally understandable from their point of view. I wonder... Let's put it this way. Last summer, that was what we could do.
Yes.
And I think and massive amounts of kudos given to you for putting that together, coming up with the ideas for how it was going to work. I mean, I give you the utmost credit. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
I wonder, though, the effectiveness from a student's perspective, because really part of going to those internship fairs is actually getting to meet the person. And it's not to say that, it just seems a bit more informal. So I do think that there is value, and I do think, and I would hope that we can have more of these virtual internship fairs. But that being said, I'm hoping, my fingers are crossed, that in-person is still a thing and that virtual is not the default from now on, because I really think it, in a way, does a disservice to the student. Of course, it's easier for the for the business.
Yes.
But I don't know if it's as useful for the student. And I also wonder how effective it is for the business either. But again, who knows? And it remains to be seen. That being said, I give you a ton of credit. So if you were moving forward, Jamie, as a student, that's, obviously you're also an employee here at the college, but as a student, looking long term at what your career might look like, what would you, going into if there would be a virtual internship fair in the future, how do you think you would approach that?
I think the first thing to remember is even if it is virtual, dress is still really important. You want to portray to your employer or possible employer of what you're like professionally, and that would be the first line. I would definitely make sure that even if it is virtual, that you are dressing professionally. And then the next, I would say, as a student, take a look at your resume and have that looked at by our career services department. And so that can be up to date when you're going to do your internship fair, because that would really help employers get to know who you are right on the spot and get a really good idea of what you are and what you have to offer.
Well, and of course, Kristin, you're more than welcome to talk about this as we go through the rest of the podcast about what types of services the career services department offers here. Obviously, resumes being one of them, but that's certainly you do much more than that. So, well, I mean, feel free to share some of those services that you offer that students might need going into this internship fair.
Absolutely. Well, we have a career closet. So we ask our students to dress professionally for these types of events. As Jamie said, even if you're virtual, you still want to make sure that your appearance is spot on when you're going to see those employers. So we have a full career closet of free professional clothing. We just moved the closet downstairs in Bollinger in the NPR. So we have an entire closet of professional clothing for men and women, pretty much anything you can think of. So our students can come out, pick out some clothing, take it for free, wear it to the internship fair, and they get to keep it.
One of the things that I would love to talk with you about this off air, is I want to have my students come down to check out the career closet. But I love the idea of the career closet. I love the fact that students can come, find it almost all new or very, very gently used clothing, all free. And in addition, if students can't necessarily find something that fits them, you on occasion can offer gift cards to community aid, right?
Yes, we do have gift cards on hand from community aid that are to be used for professional clothing. So if a student comes in, we don't have the right size for them or what they're looking for, we're able to provide them with a gift card and they can go to the local community aid.
Now, here's the big question about the internship fair. For me, some of, in fact, my 2 on-ground classes, both freshman level classes, are going to be attending this internship fair. This is the same question that I get from all of my students, especially in freshman level classes. I literally just got here. Why am I going to go to an internship fair? Answer that question.
So, and I bring this up in every single CPC Foundations class that I visit of all brand new students. So you are here as a student in an accelerated degree program, which means you are going to finish faster than your friends, than your peers. Honestly, you're going to get here, and then in a 1.5 to 3 years later, you're going to be graduated. And you can do your internship anytime after 75% completion. So you can do your internship anytime in your last year. That's coming up very, very soon. So it's something that you want to be thinking about even in your very first term. You don't have to have it all figured out, but you can start thinking about, what do I enjoy in my field? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do in my internship?
Here's the thing that I also point out, and obviously this is, I hate taking credit for it because it's all conversations that we've all had. For me, in addition to those factors, it's important to see who is hiring in your area, what types of positions are available in your area. But also, it's not just Harrisburg and Cumberland County and Dauphin County. I mean, we have not only have connections through alumni all over the state, but there's also people outside of our region that are represented at these internship fairs as well. So, and a lot of these companies who are coming have different offices. I know that there's some of the people who are coming might have an office in Philadelphia, maybe, South, maybe Baltimore or DC. So, I mean, it's not just, hey, here's what's going on in Harrisburg or here's what's going on in Enola. It's, hey, we're looking more regionally here.
Yes.
So for me, it's important to share with the students, look, at Central Penn more than anything, it's important for students to, at least in their first term, develop some goals. I remember when I was in college, maybe I didn't have any till I was a sophomore, maybe even a junior. I was like, I'm just going in and I'm taking my classes, I'm developing an interest. Here, it's a little bit different. So knowing what you want to do will help you and your advisor work toward volunteering in a community that might help, developing connections. And this is the best way to do it at an internship fair, is developing those connections with local businesses or regional businesses, as it might be, that are hiring in your field.
Absolutely.
Jamie, have you ever been to any career events like this?
Yeah, and I think it's a great idea, even in your first term, because there might be opportunities that you might not even be aware of. And as I got into my communications program, there was career opportunities that I never even thought about until I got into my program. So that would be a great opportunity for students to stop out and see, I've never even thought about this potential career as they begin. And then they can, customize their education or work with their scheduling and their advisor.
And here's the biggest thing too, Jamie, to that point. A lot of these employers also have part-time employment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I totally understand many students come here. Maybe they're working in retail. Maybe they're working in the restaurant industry, local grocery stores, that kind of thing. But trying to get experience working in the field while you're in college is going to do nothing more than benefit you at the end too. So not only is it getting to meet the companies who are hiring, not only is it maybe trying to get some part-time experience while you're in college, but also it's about that physical experience of talking to employers. And that is where many students really struggle.
Yes.
It's intimidating walking into an internship fair.
Yes.
You walk in. Now, I won't let my students walk in alone. Their first time, I'm going to go with them, and I'll walk them around and show them. But it's that even for me, even if I was walking into a situation like that, I would be intimidated. So it's very important for me, if nothing else, if all of those things aside, all very important, it's just getting that experience speaking to potential employers, right?
Yes.
One more time, we are looking at... This is Thursday, October the 21st. It's at the Conference Center. You can go to givebutter.com/fall intern fair to register. And Kristin will be there with bells on to greet you at the door.
To put it lightly, I will be there with bells on.
and of course, I will also be there to assist you in any way that I possibly can. So please put me to work.
Absolutely, I will.
Cool. Well, Kristin, let's switch gears here briefly. One of the things that you are very involved here as a Central Penn employee is the Colleges Against Cancer Club, one of our most prolific clubs here on campus. Obviously, coming into this fall term, October is a very, very important month for the Colleges Against Cancer Club. So tell us a little bit about what the club has planned in October and maybe how our listeners can support what the club is up to.
Sure. So fall is always our busiest term here at Central Penn. October especially, we have the majority of our events going on because we always focus on breast cancer awareness. We feature all different types of cancers, but that's one of the biggest ones that we work with. So the same day as homecoming at Fall Harvest, we have 2 events. So on October 16th, we're going to be out at the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk at Capital Blue Cross in Harrisburg. That starts at 10 a.m. Now, they're going to have that as a drive-through type of event this year. You can get out of your car and, be a part of some of those interactive activities, but it's not going to be a full walk as they normally do at City Island. So we'll start the morning there at 10 o'clock. We will come over here to Central Penn for Fall Harvest for a few hours. And then in the afternoon, we're going to be involved with the Alumni versus Students homecoming soccer game. So we're actually partnering with Casey to do Play for the Kids, which is an initiative through the 4 Diamonds Fund. So what we're going to do is we're going to be at the game. We're going to have some awareness information about childhood cancer. We're going to have concessions that we're selling. And we're also going to do a challenge during the halftime.
Ooh.
So we're going to get the players to play like a kid.
Awesome.
So Casey's coming up with a challenge. I don't know if that's going to be a 3-legged race or if it's going to be dodgeball. I have no idea.
Oh, that'll be fun.
But Casey's really excited about that. So the theme is around playing like a kid. Obviously, children who are going through cancer, they can't do the normal things that a child can do. They can't eat normal foods. They can't play normal games. So we're going to, have an event, an awareness event around that.
One of the reasons that I wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to discuss these things in terms of what the club is up to in October is, first of all, I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying everybody knows someone who has been affected by cancer. I lost my father in 2016. I just lost my best friend in July. And then I just found out a week or two ago that another one of my really good friends had cancer, but it's now in remission.
Good.
So I have lost a couple of people, some way too early.
Yeah.
And it is just has such a disastrous impact on our community, on us as individuals, on our families. And so what you're doing here is so highly respected and regarded by me. And I would love to make sure that I can personally do anything that I possibly can to support what you're doing. Because, again, we don't have to be advisors of clubs. We do it because we want to, and we legitimately believe in what we're doing. And so this is something that you're obviously passionate about. I know you've talked about this in the past, but will you share with us what your story is?
Sure. And actually, my story has really evolved in, the different events that I have been involved with. The biggest one is Bras Across Campus, which I would like to talk about as well through the Feel Your Boobies Foundation. So I had a friend who was diagnosed, unfortunately, when she was young, 25, with breast cancer. So it was 7 years, that she battled it, and unfortunately, she ended up with metastatic breast cancer, which means it spread to other parts of her body. Unfortunately, she passed away at 32 in 2012. And before she did, she was very much into bringing awareness to young women. And I worked at a different college with her at that time, and she would speak to groups of young women, bringing awareness to breast cancer, that young women can and do get breast cancer. Men can as well. So that was a big part for her. She was passionate about that. And she's the one who got me involved with making strides against breast cancer. And when she passed away, I said, you know what? I'm going to do it for her. I'm just going to continue doing it, which is why I became the club advisor for Colleges Against Cancer. So in 2016, we were approached by the Feel Your Boobies Foundation, which is the only nonprofit organization that deals with women under 40. We're too young to have mammograms. So that is the organization that brings awareness to young women. In 2016, they approached us, Central Penn, and 5 other local colleges to pilot Bras Across Campus. So we've been doing it since 2016. We did miss last year, 2020, because of the pandemic, but we are bringing it back again this year. So Bras Across Campus will be on Thursday, October 28th from 12:30 until 1 in the amphitheater.
Awesome. It means a lot that you do this and the amount of lives that you affect. I also appreciate your passion and enthusiasm that you are able to share with the club members. Obviously, I'm assuming that the club members are all part of it because maybe cancer has stricken them too, and they also want to pay it forward.
Yes.
But it's not without a strong leader with a positive outlook and enthusiasm to get students motivated to be a part of this while they're in school.
Yes.
Jamie, do you have any stories or experiences with dealing with this in your own life?
Yeah, actually, it hits very close to home. My best friend actually was diagnosed, recently within the past year.
Okay.
So she's now in remission, so it's great. And I really am excited that it's almost fate that I got to sit here with you today because I really want to get involved.
Okay.
And she also is under 40.
Okay.
So it's definitely is something that's very near and dear to my heart as my best friend has been going through this as well. So I'm excited to get involved in this as I hear about it.
Good.
And if nothing else, the Colleges Against Cancer Club will be sponsoring the CPC film series on Friday, November the 5th, as we present Robin Hood Men in Tights. But they're going to jump on board as the club sponsor, and they're going to have all types of fundraising activities and things like that during the evening. And then I'll probably ask you before we start for you to get up and maybe give us a recap of what you've been up to as a club.
Sure.
So if nothing else, if you're not able to get to any of these other events that Kristin's talking about, you can always come to the film series on the 5th and help support Colleges Against Cancer.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. First of all, Kristin, thank you so much for being here today. It's number one, thank you for what you do for our students in your official capacity.
You're welcome.
We are so looking forward to an in-person internship fair. Again, kudos on the virtual one, but I'm sure that in a way you're probably happier that it's in person yourself.
We're so happy to be back in person. Yes.
So we will all be looking forward to coming out on the October 21st. You can again go to givebutter.com/fall intern fair to register, and we'll see you on the 21st from 10 to 12. You can also stop by the Career Closet. You can email careerservices@centralpenn.edu to set up an appointment. And of course, Colleges Against Cancer is doing all kinds of great things this month, and thank you so much for everything that you do here to not only support our students professionally, but also trying to pay it forward to people who have been stricken with cancer.
Thank you, Professor Miller.
Of course. And Jamie, again, thank you so much for being here today. It's always a pleasure to get to work with you in the podcast studio. And thank you for sharing your stories of how you've been affected by cancer. But I also want to thank you again for stepping up as the Vice President of the Nightly News.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to take over. And, anytime I can get in the podcast studio, I'm all about it.
Well, hey, I told you, anytime you want to do something, let me know. It's always here. All we got to do is come over. So, all right. Well, I want to thank very much the Nightly News Vice President Jamie Harmon and Internship Coordinator Kristin Fike for being here today. But that's going to do it for another episode of the Nightly News Podcast. We'll see you again next time.